Welcome everyone. So this is going to be our third video of research video series. In this video, we are going to focus on literature review chapter, which is the second chapter of your research. Also remember that we have taken quantitative study as an example to complete this research series. So we will go and discuss. Okay, so like I said, we have about 6 separated sections under literature review. So let's go one by one. First one, of course, introduction. You should have a small intro to your literature review as well, covering what is literature. You can have a couple of sentences covering what is literature, the meaning of literature. This is secondary data. So you can have a definition or something like that under 2.0. That is the very first part of your literature review, the introduction. And also you have to mention why did you choose these two variables. So explain, okay, how important this is. I know you have completed this in your introduction part as well, but that's okay. You can repeat the same thing, but with different words, different set of words. Okay. So you check and highlight the importance of these two variables under introduction section. Also, you should signpost as well because chapter is not like an assignment. This is like a research. So in research chapters, it's better to signpost your chapters as well. In this part, you don't signpost the whole research. You just have to signpost the chapter. In this chapter, what are the sections that you are going to cover? Not the whole project. Okay. So here you can say the section that we are about to cover. You can mention on the signposting that you will be discussing about attributes, and you are going to synthesize your context and everything. You can here mention on the signposting. So have one small paragraph covering these two, what is literature, why these two variables were chosen, and also have a bit of signposting part. So that's your very first part in literature review chapter 2.0. Okay, and then 2.1, your independent variable. What is our independent variable in this research? Motivation. This is our independent variable. Yeah. So now before you separate, before you break this down into your variables, you need to generally explain what is your motivation. So for that, you can have definitions, maybe theories. There are many theories on the motivation. So you can bring a couple of theories and explain. Also models. And also it is important to have empirical studies. What are empirical studies? These are basically, imagine another student or maybe another university, same kind of a project has been submitted. Okay, so refer to those type of data, and you can bring statistical information from those type of reports, because that report is also has covered the same kind of variables. So these things is gonna add value to your study. So empirical studies, as in this is also literature, part of literature, but these are like project, not journals. These are like project, the people who have done projects covering the same thing. Okay, so you can have couple of information. It's really hard to find sometimes, if your topic is very unique, it's very hard for you to find these empirical studies, but that's okay. You just give it a try. If you could find something, you can add under independent variable under motivation. Okay, this is your independent variable. In this case, in our case, this is motivation. All right. Okay, then this is 2.1. So we are still in 2, the second chapter, 2.0, 2.1. Now we need to discuss about attributes. Remember, so we have chosen 4 attributes under independent variable under motivation. So here, so and the soon after you complete your independent variable, in this case motivation, you have to don't write as independent variable. You need to write motivation. You can maybe write overview of motivation, something like this. You have to rephrase your heading. Okay, I just put independent variable for your reference only. Okay, now under this you have another 4 subsections, which are attributes. Attribute 1, attribute 2, attribute 3, attribute 4. So what are the attributes that we have chosen? Salary was there, work life balance was there, and what else? Leadership was there. At last, recognition. So you can write your own attributes under your research as per your research. So these are all part of the similar kind of content you need to cover under this as well, just like the independent variable. So here you can cover again the definitions. Now imagine you are under 2.1.1 under salary. How important salary is, the financial benefits in organization for employees. So you can discuss things like that. So theories, again models, and also if you can bring data referring to your own industry. Now here, let's say ABC company that we have chosen as our case study. So this ABC company is a manufacturing industry. So if you can refer to data covering industry, manufacturing industry, that's going to again add value to your study. Okay, and also bring contradicting statements. Okay, someone is saying this, but at the same time, another author is saying something else. So we have discussed about critical writing. So try to be critical in terms of bringing views, right? So you can bring multiple referencing as well. So contradictory findings, maybe something bad. So in motivation, there are risks as well. So you can bring those statements as well, no problem. Okay, and also at each of these sections you should have that hypothesis statement. Okay, what is hypothesis? Now we are going to test these four variables. Remember, that is our main objective. So now so let's say that you have completed the survey part. Now as for those the context that you have covered, it is noticed that survey has a significant impact on your staff turnover generally with literature. So in that case, you can say, as per the hypothesis statement, remember H0, H stands for hypothesis, 0 as in there's no relationship, H1 stand for there's a significant relationship. So you have to have statements saying um, H1, let's say now you found out that salary has a significant impact on this turnover. So you can say H1 after that paragraph or like context under salary, you can say this is under 2.1.1. Okay. Um, salary has a significant impact on staff turnover. That's it. That's your hypothesis statement. So likewise, you need to cover 2.1.2, 2.1.3, 2.1.4. Context referring to these sections, definition, theory, models, everything. And also, soon after you are completed with that, you need to assume, okay, you need to think, okay, I have covered these sections, and it is noticed that, of course, there are, like, in most cases, you have a relationship, okay, significant impact on your secondary variable. So, which is your turnover. So what you can do is you have to say H1, there is a significant relationship impact or rather impact in this turnover. So likewise, you need to have four statement under each attribute. So that is about your 2.1 and 2. So these are like subsections of 2.1 independent variable because these are also part of motivation. Okay. So remember that. So you have to have a hypothesis statement under each attribute. Okay. Now 2.2 dependent variable. Now we have covered independent variable along with the attributes. Now we have come to dependent variable. In this case, turnover. In your case, you need to write about your dependent variable. Again, you should not write as dependent variable. You need to write your dependent variable's name. In this case, turnover. For example, you can write here concepts of turnover, overview of turnover, perspectives of turnover. Likewise, you need to have a heading, not just dependent variable. Here I am writing as dependent variable for your easy understanding. Okay, so what are the things that you can write under this? Similar to your independent variable, you can focus on definitions, theories, models, again contradictory findings. What are the things that can have a negative impact? What are the risks of these things? So everything, any literature you can bring under this part, but you should focus on the dependent variable, in this case turnover. So this is the main thing that you need to focus. Okay, that's about 2.2, very easy. So 2.3, now remember, we are our second objective, discuss about the relationship. Now this is what we are going to do. to cover that objective. 2.3, relationship of two variables. Again, you need to write your variables, motivation and turnover. Now you don't have to write your attributes here. Just focus on your topic, main independent variable and dependent variable. So in this case, motivation and staff turnover. So what is the linkage between these two? So that's what you're going to discuss here. Again, you need to bring theoretical perspectives. Okay, but focus should be on motivation plus turnover. So we are going to focus on the link of these two, you know. So turnover can be, impacted by many factors, but in this part we are going to focus on the motivation because this is our independent variable. So what is the relationship between motivation and turnover? That's what we are talking about under 2.3. Again, you need to bring theory, you need to cite and discuss. So focus on that. So that is going to be your 2.3. Okay, now we are in the last two sections of literature review chapter. 2.4, synthesis. Synthesis is basically a summary, but an advanced summary. So not just a summary, but quite an advanced summary. So in this part, what are the things that we write? Okay. So what you have to do is you need to highlight the key themes. Now you need to consider every section that you have covered under literature review chapter, all the theoretical information and everything, all these factors, attributes, independent variable, dependent variable. So you have covered almost covering everything about the topic, right? With literature. Now you need to highlight the key themes. What are the things that you have found out after discussing those theories? So what are the key themes? And also what are the similar areas? So you can say, okay, in this factor, third stage is quite similar to Maslow's hierarchies first stage. So likewise, you are analyzing things. You are not just summarizing things, rather you are analyzing things and highlighting those key themes, similarities, and everything. So it's quite an advanced way of summarizing things. So key themes, similar areas, and also when you write these things, you should not bring new citation under this section. Under synthesis, you should not bring any new citation. So these are all based on the sections that you have covered, based on the literature information that you have already written in your previous sections. So on the independent variable, dependent variable, attributes and all that. So you have to discuss on those things using the same citations. So for that you can use multiple citations because you are connecting things. When you connect like two definitions and try to highlight a similar area, you can have those two citation under one. For example, Porter 2021 semicolon Kamal uh, 2024. So because you have connected two definitions and you have highlighted the similarity there. So because of that, those two sentences citations you have brought here using multiple referencing. You have updated both under that sentence where you have highlighted the similarity. So these are anyway you are repeating these citation under synthesis. These are not new ones. These were already there in your literature part in maybe in independent variable or dependent variable or attribute. So you have to use multiple referencing when you discuss about these things under key themes and similar areas. Also try to touch on gaps in the literature. Now you know how hard it was to find literature. So you know the effort that you have put. So you can say, okay, if there are lack of studies, you can, okay, there were lack of studies covering this. And even if there were like few studies, those were published in like, maybe 2 decades back, maybe in 1970 only, this was published. Okay, there were a couple of studies that you could find, but those are in 1970s. So these are outdated now. This research is going to fill that gap because you are going to do this research in 2025. So things like that you can mention. That is what we call gaps in literature. Okay, how hard it was for you to write literature covering these sections. Okay, that is about synthesis, advanced summary. Okay, And of course, then you have to have small summary, chapter summary, covering everything. So what are the areas that you have covered? When you write these areas that you have covered, you need to use the past tense. You have use ed. You have discussed. Okay, things like that you need to cover. So basically, you need to summarize the things that you have discussed in past tense. Also, try to highlight the key findings, not everything. The information that are like very important and has a huge impact on this turnover or something, then you can write few things under key findings under the same chapter summary. Also, try to link, give this report a hint. Okay, soon after you complete these two sections, you can say outline how this chapter impacts to the study. So this chapter is going to help you with what? So this is the secondary research. The primary research is where you have to collect new data, raw data, and discuss about those findings. Here, this is your secondary research because you are going to do a research on already published information. That is what you have discussed already. So this is going to help how this literature is going to help your study. So you can write few sentences covering that as well. So you can outline, okay, this literature and data past studies is going to help this report. So those are the things that you need to write under chapter summary. So now we have discussed about six sections. We started with 2.0 and then ended up with 2.5. So which means six sections we have covered. Under literature, of course, you can have another subsection, other subsections as well. Maybe if you have a theory under dependent variable, of course, you can have a subsection under that theory, ABC theory, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So things like that you can include in your structure. Now, this is the basic structure, the roadmap of this literature review chapter. That's up. I wanted to cover the main things. So you can change this as per your guideline as well. So now, yes, as you can see in the screen, this I have summarized the same sections that we have covered again for you to, if you want to make notes, you can have this table as well, and also make sure that you bring good citation, number of citation, because this is where you have to use a lot of citation. You have to use secondary data here a lot, not like in other chapters, which is where you have to use a lot of citation. So take use of it, make use of it, and also ensure to cite properly. If it's Harvard referencing, make sure you do the citation accordingly. If it's APA, you have to do the same thing. You always go through that guidebook. I don't recommend any software, so update your citations. So try to do it manually. It's going to be easy one by one. So then and there you can update citations. So again, the last thing, when you write these theoretical information, try to touch on the negative side as well. Try to be critical. Bring different views, on the same thing. You are looking at the same thing, but in different angles, different perspectives. So when you write those things only, your context is getting you get a lot of marks. So you get bonus marks if you are covered with critical perspectives. So I wish you all the best. If you have any questions, you can comment. I'll see you in the next video.